Hey equestrians, Polly from Blue Urban Law here. Last week we talked about how to protect your liability if someone falls off or is injured on your property. And this week we're talking about all the risks involved when you care for someone else's horse and that horse gets injured under your care. Did you know that if you are a boarding stable or trainer, you actually owe a duty of care to the owners of the horse? In California, we have a statute that we often refer to as the Baylor-Bailey statute. And what this says is that a depository of living animals, i.e., someone who takes care of them, must provide those animals with prompt veterinary care, nutrition, shelter, and treat them kindly. And if someone doesn't do this, they may be liable for civil damages. Now, you might be saying, well, obviously that makes sense. I need to feed and shelter the animals I take care of, which is true. But in reality, what this does is create a legal duty for you as a boarding stable or trainer that holds you to a higher standard and that shifts the burden of proof. So why does this matter? Well, in the real world, it means that if a horse is injured under your care, now you have to prove that you didn't do anything wrong, and your customer doesn't have to prove that you were negligent. We litigated a case representing the owner of a horse, and we were able to use this theory, which resulted in the court finding that the boarding stable was liable to the owner for a fencing panel that fell on the horse and injured it. As a boarding stable or trainer, what can you do to protect yourself from liability if a horse is injured under your care? Obviously, the most important thing is to provide a high level of care with safety checks in place. But when the worst case scenario actually happens, if you have proper contracts and insurance, you will be able to sleep better at night. Now, I hope you've watched some of my earlier videos and understand the importance of using written boarding and training contracts. These contracts should include assumption of risk language, not only for the people who are riding, as we talked about last week, but also for the horses that are being cared for. You shouldn't just take some assumption of risk language you find on the internet for a person and put it into your boarding contract and think that that language will apply to a horse. The language needs to be specifically drafted to your situation. This is where having a trusted equine attorney on your side can help to make sure that your contracts are as strong as possible. A second item that you should always include in a boarding or training contract is the agreed value of the horse. This can be helpful to limit your damages if the horse is injured while in your care. In addition to having contracts that protect you, having proper insurance is critical. If you're caring for someone else's horse, you want to have care, custody, and control insurance. This is the type of insurance that will provide you with coverage if a horse is injured and the owner brings a lawsuit saying that it was your fault. They might bring the lawsuit under negligence theories or under the Baylor-Bailey statute we spoke about earlier. We always recommend to our clients that they have enough coverage to cover the most expensive horse in the barn. We litigated a case where the injured horse was worth $150,000 and the barn only carried $2,500 of care, custody, and control insurance. Obviously, that wasn't adequate. The result was a costly lawsuit that may have been avoided had there been reasonable insurance. Additionally, if the barn had asked for the value of the horse in the boarding agreement, they might have realized that they needed to increase their insurance if they were going to have expensive horses under their care. At Hay & Hay, we advise boarding stables and trainers on a weekly basis on what they can do to protect themselves when the worst case scenario happens. You may have heard me say this before, but no transaction is identical, which is why using a trusted equine attorney to advise you and help protect your liability is critical to making sure you're not going to be liable for the types of damages our laws allow. Whether you've been running your business for years or are just starting out, call our office today so we can make sure you are protected from huge losses in the future. We hope to hear from you soon.